Sixer Nation, we know this organization has had a tremendous offseason, and I guess we're done now, right? Wait, no, there's actually a way that they could still go out and land one of their top trade targets, one of their highly coveted players, but it gets a little tricky, and there is a key to making this happen. So we will talk about that and break it all down. We'll also get into Joel Embiid getting unwarranted hate after his first Olympic scrimmage. We'll talk about all that and more. But first off, welcome into Philly Take with RB. I'm RB. I'm getting ready to head off to NBA Summer League. I will be down there trying to capture as much content as possible. It's my first time heading down there. So I hope you all enjoy the content and tap in, and I will do my best to bring you an in-depth look behind the scenes at everything. But we need to talk about the Sixers. First off, let me ask you a question, okay? Question of the day, what grade do you give Daryl Morey this offseason so far? The Sixers brought back Kelly Oubre using the room exception. Obviously, they give Maxey the max, no pun intended. They sign Andre Drummond to help the backup center issue. They land their guy in Paul George, form that big three, and then they pick up Eric Gordon and Caleb Martin as depth pieces. What grade would you give the Sixers? I'm still a little worried about the rebounding, particularly in the starting lineup, but they still have an opportunity to go out and make something happen. And that is what we are going to get into here today, because there was an article written by Brian Toporek of Liberty Ballers, and a lot of people are talking about it. So I'm going to try to help you understand the best that I can. Shout out to Jason Timperley here on Twitter. He says that he would expect the Sixers to fill out their roster with minimums and then give KJ Martin up to $15 million in starting salary. Now, everybody stepped back and said, whoa. KJ Martin, $15 million. I mean, this guy showed a little bit of potential last year. I thought he was particularly well down the final stretch of the season as a rebounder, as a guy who's able to move off ball well, nice backdoor cutter, pretty decent defender at the end of the season, but $15 million, you have to be out of your mind. But here is why we could actually end up seeing this happen. And I want to go over to an article written on CBS Sports from Sam Quinn. He did a great job of, kind of dissecting the Brian Toporek report. So he starts off by saying the Sixers could pay KJ Martin next season at a 4-year veteran max of $35 million. Now, that's not going to happen. The number to watch is $15 million. Right now, the Sixers are $24 million below the second apron line with 9 players under contract. And we know the issue is that they don't have tradable salaries, right? You have 3 guys making maxes. It's hard to get those players that can then get you the marginal pieces. So what you have to do, in a way, it's like a hack. You have to create that tradable salary. So the way they could do that based on the remaining players that they have and the rights that they have is by not renouncing KJ Martin's free agent rights and instead signing him to more money. Now, there is a little bit of danger that's involved with this, but as it says here, the Sixers could go above the second apron. They are not currently hard capped. However, that is not practical, right? Like, you get all these crazy restrictions, penalties by going above the second apron. And it says, as Toporek noted, it might also make sense to identify a trade target in advance and then sign KJ Martin to a contract worth the same exact amount as that player, as a dollar-for-dollar match on a one-for-one trade is the only combination that absolutely guarantees neither team runs into apron or hard cap issues. That number may ultimately be lower because there are not real luxury tags associated with signing the contract. The Sixers may not want to squeeze every ounce of trade value out of it at the expense of literal cash. So, pretty much, they would sign KJ Martin, and they would then use that salary to go out and trade for a guy like a Dorian Finney-Smith, who is obviously the number 1 target still available. I don't see Brooklyn being contenders, and I think they're going to try to get off that contract, and he would be a perfect fit in Philly as a 3-and-D wing, and hopefully a guy who could help on the boards a little and obviously defend on the perimeter. Now, let's try to understand this a little better. Why would anybody want KJ Martin at $15 million? This would not be a long-term deal. The Sixers would structure it as a 2-year deal with the second season non-guaranteed. So essentially it'd be like a 1-year deal. And why would anybody want to trade like a Dorian Finney-Smith for KJ Martin? Well, here is the bingo, right? Because the Sixers have 4 tradable first-round picks. So Essentially, they would be getting back picks. A team like Brooklyn could use those resources to help build their team in the future. They're not going to be contending this season. Why not get off a player like that and get another draft pick in return? And, a decently young player in KJ Martin who maybe could develop into something more or be used in a subsequent trade. So they talk about the first and second apron. Any team that takes back more money than it brings in through a trade is hard capped. Philly would need to trade Martin for somebody cheaper than him in a 1-for-1 swap. However, teams that aggregate salaries through trade are only hard capped at the second apron. This means if Philly combined Martin with another salary to avoid taking in more money than they send out, they could avoid a first apron hard cap. So pretty much the Sixers would either have to pay him a little bit more than a guy like Dorian Finney-Smith and trade him, or they would have to then aggregate KJ Martin with another salary to eclipse that number. So it all depends on the figure they want to put on it, what they think a trade could look like in the future. Now, it does get risky. What if KJ Martin comes out and he's the worst player in the world? Nobody wants to even trade for him, even if it means getting a pick. Or maybe KJ Martin is so good that he now shifts your view on everything. Like, there is a few things to keep in mind, but it gets a little tricky. We know the Sixers ownership does not want to pay tax. They don't want to be in the second apron. So, he would end up getting moved. How does that help his morale, right? If he knows he's going to be a future trade piece, the Sixers would either be trading him for someone making less money than whatever they pay him, or they'd be combining him and someone else to get a slightly pricier player, as long as the total amount they bring in is less than what they send out. So a lot of stuff within the CBA. When could a trade like this happen? January 15th. Most free agents can be traded on December 15th. However, free agents that re-sign for more than the minimum, get a raise larger than 20%, and are playing for a team that's above the salary cap cannot be moved until a month after that. Martin checks those boxes. And then the last question is, why can't he be signed and traded? Like, why can't they just do it now? And here's pretty much why. Number one, signing and trading a player, receiving money back hard caps you at the second apron. Philly may not want to do that unnecessarily in case, for other reasons, other trades, etc. The second reason is any team that acquires a player through sign and trade is hard capped at the first apron, and the teams Philly may be interested in trading with might not be willing or able to operate within that restriction. And lastly, the same restrictions that make Martin a January 15th trade target instead of a December 15th limit his utility as matching salary in a sign and trade. If a free agent checks those boxes, he only counts for 50% of the money he's owed. Put more simply, if Philly signed and traded him at $15 million, he'd only count as 7.5 as outgoing salary for them. If they wait and do it during the season, they can trade him for his full amount. So again, more things with the cap numbers. Hopefully that clarifies it a little more and doesn't make it confusing. But he lists some of the targets here that could be involved in a trade like this. Dorian Finney-Smith, Isaiah Stewart, Tyus Jones, who's still out there. I don't know why Tyus Jones is available. I really like him as a player. Obviously, the Sixers, brought in Jared McCain. They're probably going to bring back Kyle Lowry. But could he be a player, right? Cody Martin. How about Caleb Martin's brother? Matisse Thybulle? Probably not going to happen. DeAndre Hunter. So there are other players available, but Dorian Finney-Smith is making $14.9 million. That's really where that $15 million number is sparking from, because people think that Finney-Smith would be a pretty good target and a suitor for Philadelphia. So they'd want to pay KJ a little bit above that. And then, as we just talked about, execute that trade as we get a little bit into the season. So that's how it could happen. Hopefully I didn't confuse you, but Dorian Finney-Smith should be traded from Brooklyn, and I think the Sixers should try to get him. Now, in other news, Joel Embiid played last night for Team USA. It was his first game in the Olympics. It was a scrimmage against Canada. He went 5.6 rebounds, 2 assists. He had 4 fouls. He was fouled out in the third quarter. Okay. And man, it's kind of embarrassing seeing all these weird Embiid hate trolls and hate stands and, people that just want to see this guy fail. I mean, he's literally playing for your Olympic team. He's representing your country. And I know there's been a whole conversation about that. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. But nonetheless, Joel Embiid decided to play for Team USA, and he's out there giving it his all. Keep in mind, this guy's coming back from multiple injuries that probably would have kept almost every other player out for the rest of the season. And he decided to suit up, even though maybe it's not the best case for his health. and he's out there in the starting lineup, giving it his best effort. He hasn't played in a couple months. People outside the Sixer Nation knows that it takes Joel Embiid a couple games to ramp up, and they're hating on this guy after one game. It's absolutely ridiculous. And because he fouled out, everybody's talking about, well, he's not used to the international style and he can't be aggressive. And there was a clip last night where he's saying as he gets fouled out, why can't I be aggressive? It's going to take him some time to get used to that style of play. And shout out to my guy, Josh Reynolds. He's a great follow. Love his content here on Twitter. I disagree with him here. A lot of people are saying that getting used to these new rules could be the best thing for the Sixers. He's not going to get the same calls, which will lead him to be more aggressive. No, I don't want him to get used to the international style. I want him to keep doing what he's doing. Joel Embiid is at the peak right now. He is in MVP form, and he is dominating every single night in the NBA. Like, he could be an MVP probably every single season right now, and we have a good couple years left at least of Joel Embiid. I don't want him to change his style of game. I want him to do exactly what he's doing, stay the way he is in the NBA. People say he flops, whatever. Well, you have 3 to 4 guys trying to guard him on a single possession, and yes, he's going to go up and draw a foul. If you don't want the call to be made, then don't foul him. So I disagree with this whole notion of everybody saying that this is going to help Joel Embiid, and then there's other people saying, well, he's not good enough to play on the Olympics because he doesn't understand the style of play. Everybody needs to relax. And my best Aaron Rodgers impression, relax. It was one scrimmage. The hate is absolutely insane, and I'd be embarrassed to see another player getting this much hate when he is out there representing your country. So at the end of the day, man, I hope Joel Embiid comes out and feasts in the Olympics. I think the next couple weeks, he's going to really ramp up, right? It always takes him a little bit of time, and he might end up being one of the best dang players on this roster. I think Joel Embiid is going to put on a showcase in the Olympics, and when he does, I hope that people try to keep the same energy with him. That's all I got as it relates to the 76ers today. Give me your thoughts down below in the comments section. And as always, appreciate everybody for tapping in. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. That being said, I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.